My name is Lorraine Duncan. I'm 38, divorced, and a paralegal in a city that I never really called home. For the last 15 years, I've lived without looking back. No calls, no visits, no holidays. My mother made sure I never forgot why I left, by reminding me every day of the burden I was. My brother? Golden boy Clive. Perfect teeth, perfect lies. He stayed. I ran. I survived. But when Juniper, my daughter, turned 13 and asked to meet the grandmother she'd never known, I caved. Stupidly. The house looked the same. Victorian bones flaking paint, rose bushes trimmed like weapons. The air was thick, wet pine, mold, and memory. I hated how it still smelled like my childhood. Juniper hopped out of the car with her backpack, slung carelessly. "This is where you grew up?" she asked, half amazed. I nodded. My mouth was dry. "Don't touch anything." We walked up the path. Porch lights off. No sound. That was wrong. Juniper tried the door. It opened. The second she stepped in, I heard it, a sharp, slicing voice from deeper inside. "Don't stop. Keep scrubbing." My feet froze. Juniper vanished around the corner. I ran. The kitchen lights flickered on just as I turned the corner, like someone had been waiting. And there she was, my daughter, on her knees, crouched over a bucket of soapy water, holding a brush like a punishment. Her hair stuck to her face with sweat, her eyes wide red. Standing over her, Evelyn. My mother looked older, sure, but her presence hadn't aged a day. Cold, rigid, smiling. "She needs discipline," Evelyn said without turning. "You never gave her any." I moved. Fast. I grabbed Juniper's arm, yanked her to her feet. She flinched like I'd hit her. "She told me not to stop," she whispered. "She said you'd get hurt if I did." What the hell is going on? Clive stepped in from the hallway. Taller now. Broader. Same smug eyes. He clicked the door shut behind him. "You're home, sis," he said. "Let's not make this difficult." "You locked the door." "Just making sure no one runs off again." "Unlock it." "We will. After dinner." Evelyn handed Juniper a cloth napkin, perfectly folded. "We were about to eat," she said. I ignored her, pulled Juniper aside. Her wrists were red. One had a faint bruise, circular, finger-shaped. "What is this?" "Nothing," Juniper muttered. "I was bad." "You are never bad." My voice cracked. Evelyn exhaled like I'd said something naive. "Children need to know their place. She'll thank me one day." "No," I said. "She'll need therapy." I scanned the kitchen. Spotless. Too clean, like it had been sanitized for inspection. A heavy wooden board hung above the stove, handwritten in calligraphy. "Serve. Respect. Obey." I stepped back, heart racing. The clock on the wall ticked too loud. Something inside me screamed to run. "Why is she cleaning?" I asked. "She lives here," Evelyn said calmly. "She earns her keep." "She's 13. Clive crossed his arms. "Better than being shuffled through broken public schools and your crowded apartment." That was the twist of the knife. He knew I'd struggled. He'd read the records. Hell, they probably pulled them illegally. "She's my daughter," I said. "She's our responsibility now," Evelyn corrected. "You forfeited that when you left." I moved toward the door. Juniper's hand slipped into mine, wet and trembling. "Mom," she said, barely a breath. "Grandma told me something. She said if you argue again, you won't make it out tonight." I froze. "Mom," she whispered. "Someone's watching us." The lights flickered again. For a second, the kitchen dimmed, shadows slicing across Evelyn's face like cracks in porcelain. Juniper's grip on my hand tightened. "Someone's watching us," she repeated, eyes wide, voice barely a thread. I turned. Clive was still at the door, but now he was holding something small in his hand. Sleek, black, blinking red. A motion sensor. What is that? I snapped. Just a little security. We can't be too careful these days. My gut dropped. Are there cameras in this house? Clive smiled. You think I'd answer that? I stepped forward. You've been recording her. She lives here. She's part of the family. We all follow the rules. I wanted to scream, but my voice was gone. My brain was louder than my mouth. Recordings. Evidence. Custody. Trap. Juniper's whisper cracked my spinning. There's a room. With files. What kind of files? She called it the cabinet. Locked. She keeps it upstairs. Said it's only for evaluations. Evelyn moved toward us. Slow. Controlled. Children say so many strange things when they're frightened. Funny, I said. She doesn't look frightened. She looks trained. Evelyn stopped 2 feet away. Her eyes didn't blink. Everything I do, she said, I do for family. Then stay away from mine. I grabbed Juniper's hand again and pulled her toward the hallway. Don't, Evelyn warned. Clive blocked us. Let's all just talk. You want to talk? Let's talk with someone who wears a badge. I reached into my purse for my phone. Not there. I stopped. Flipped my bag inside out. Empty. Clive held it up. You dropped something. He tossed it behind him, right into a pitcher of water. I ran. Juniper and I barreled down the hallway, up the stairs, 2 at a time. My legs screamed, but I didn't stop, though it groaned beneath our feet. The house had changed. Doors where there weren't before. A hallway that twisted slightly wrong, like the blueprint had been rewritten. Left, Juniper said. Second door. We burst into the room. A study. Low bookshelves, heavy curtains, no windows open. The air was stale. I slammed the door behind us and shoved a chair under the knob. Juniper pointed. There. A black filing cabinet in the corner. Locked. I knelt beside it. Where's the key? She keeps it in her bedroom. That would take too long. I yanked the drawer. Nothing. Slammed again. Metal groaned. Juniper looked pale. Her hands trembled. She says we're all experiments. What? She says behavior is like clay. That fear makes it permanent. I stared at her. She said that? Exactly like that. Juniper nodded. I stood. She's not going to touch you again. The chair under the knob jerked. Someone was outside. We backed away. Lorraine, Clive said through the door. Calm. Casual. Let's not break things. You used to love that room. Remember the summer Dad died? I glanced around. There, the desk drawer. I lunged, yanked it open. Inside, a burner phone. Labeled emergency only. Screen cracked. Dusty. But alive. I dialed 911. Ring. Static. Connection. This is Lorraine Duncan, I hissed. I'm at 407 Halberd Lane, Ridge County. My daughter's in danger. I need. Caller identity flagged, said a robotic voice. This number is listed as restricted. Please wait while we transfer you to legal processing. What? The call dropped. Blocked. How is that even legal? I whispered. Juniper pulled at my sleeve. There's another way out. She pointed to the closet door. What's in there? A ladder. It goes to the crawl space. I yanked it open. Dust. Old coats. A rusted ladder bolted to the wall behind loose, wood paneling. I pushed Juniper in first. Then followed. As I climbed, I heard Evelyn's voice behind the door. She always thought she could escape consequence. The wood split. The crawl space smelled like mildew and copper. Darkness swallowed us. Somewhere in the distance, a low hum. Electrical. Juniper's breathing echoed. Why does she hate me? She asked, voice shaking. She doesn't hate you, I said. She fears what she can't control. We crawled. Hands scraping. A low bulb flickered overhead, motion triggered. A camera followed our movement. We dropped into another room. Basement. A wall of monitors glowed. Security feeds. Every hallway. Every room. The bathroom. I stared. You were never meant to leave this place. My phone pinged. One new message. No number. You're not the only mother she's done this to. Juniper clutched my sleeve. Her eyes locked on the message, glowing on my phone. You're not the only mother she's done this to. Another ping. Check the bottom drawer. Tape 8. My breath caught. I turned. There were drawers below the monitors, rusted handles, all numbered. 8 was barely hanging on its hinge. I yanked it open. Tapes. Old school mini DVs, labeled in Evelyn's handwriting. 8S, Porter interview. Final eval. Confidential. I shoved it into the reader below the screen. Static. Then footage. A woman. Mid-30s. Blonde. Gaunt. Sitting in the same basement but years earlier. Her eyes flicked side to side, like something was just beyond the frame. My name is Sylvia Porter. I'm not crazy, she said. If you're watching this, they've already erased the paper trail. But my son, he was never supposed to stay here. She told me it was temporary. She leaned forward, whispering now. The paperwork's forged. Custody switch. Signature stolen from a credit form. Legal in appearance, but buried under layers of junk filings in Ridge County's probate office. I froze. Your mom forged legal custody, I murmured. Juniper's lips parted. Is that why she won't let me leave? I nodded slowly. She thinks she owns you. Footsteps. Overhead. Multiple. Someone was pacing. No, circling. I muted the feed. The video flickered again. Sylvia cried. She pulled a small silver necklace from under her shirt and held it toward the lens. This is the only real thing I have left. If you find this, please look in the blue envelope behind the water heater. They missed it. It has everything. I bolted upright. Water heater. There, tucked behind rusted pipes. I shoved my arm down, scraping skin, and yanked out a plastic-sealed envelope. Inside, copies of documents, court filings, notarized, signatures. One of them was mine. That's not mine, I breathed. That's not my signature. Forgery, Juniper whispered. Another paper, a real estate transfer. Signed 2 years ago. Clive, I growled. His name in block ink. Beneath it, in a forged scrawl, mine. They transferred the house to his name. Retroactive. Everything I left behind stolen. No wonder they wanted me here. To bury me in it. Juniper touched my wrist. There's something else. She pointed to the far monitor. One feed blinked to a room I hadn't seen before. Bare walls. Mattress. No windows. A girl, maybe 11, sat cross-legged, staring at the wall. I blinked. That's not a feed, I said. That's live. The timestamp ticked. Who is she? She's not in the house, Juniper said. I've never seen her before. I snapped a picture of the screen. Saved it to the cloud. I'm calling the police again. I pulled the burner phone back out. Dead. Battery fried. My skin prickled. We need help, Juniper whispered. No, I said. We need proof first. I grabbed the envelope, stuffed it into my coat, and moved toward the basement stairs. Slow. Every creak echoed. At the top, I pressed my ear to the door. Silence. I cracked it open. The kitchen. Empty. I signaled Juniper to follow. We tiptoed out, slipped toward the study. Evelyn's voice sliced the silence. I always knew you'd come crawling back. I spun. She was in the dark, sitting in the chair I'd blocked earlier. Calm. Waiting. Where's Clive? I asked. She smiled. Gone to file a petition. For permanent guardianship. My fists clenched. That's not going to happen. You should be grateful. You had 15 years. Now we take over. You forged everything. Prove it. I held up the envelope. Her smile cracked. Then, A sharp sting to the side of my head. Blackness. Noise. Feet scuffling. Juniper screaming. Then silence. When I woke up, I was alone. Hands tied. In the windowless room from the feed. And across from me sat the girl from the monitor. She turned slowly and whispered, "They said you were next." The girl stared at me with flat, frightened eyes. Thin. Pale. A shadow of someone who hadn't been outside in years. "What's your name?" I whispered. She hesitated. "Mara." "How long have you been here?" She swallowed. "Long enough to forget what year it is." A chill ripped through me. The cuffs on my wrists bit deeper. My pulse hammered against bone. "Who brought you here, Mara?" She blinked toward the camera in the corner. "Same woman who brought you. She said we're better when we're reshaped." Reshaped. A word Evelyn would use. Soft enough to sound harmless. Sharp enough to cut. I tugged at the restraints again. No give. The metal was bolted. Industrial. "How did you survive here?" I asked. She looked at the floor. I stopped fighting. That's what she teaches. Obedience is the cure. My breath stuttered. There is no cure. There's only control. Silence. Then, footsteps overhead. Slow. Dragging. Not Clive. Heavier. More deliberate. I stared at the ceiling. Dust trembled loose with each step. "She's coming," Mara whispered. "No," I said. "Not yet." I shifted my weight, swung my legs, pressed my feet against the wall. The metal frame creaked, then bent. Slightly. Again. Harder. A crack formed. "Move," I said. Mara scooted back. I kicked the restraint a final time. Metal snapped. The noise echoed like a gunshot. The footsteps above stopped. Cut scene. A beat of silence. Then they started again. Faster. I freed my wrists, ripped the second strap loose, grabbed Mara's arm. "We're leaving." "No one leaves," she said. "Not without her permission." "Then we'll leave without it." I pulled her toward the door. Locked. Of course. I scanned the room. Camera. Vents. Exposed wiring. There. A breaker panel. I ripped it open. Sparks spat out. The lights flickered. The hallway beyond the door buzzed. Mara winced. "She'll know." "She already knows." I twisted two wires together. The entire basement went dark. Cut scene. A scream from upstairs, not fear. Anger. Evelyn's anger had a shape. It filled walls. I used the dark to feel my way along the room. Palms sliding over cold concrete until click! A latch. I shoved it. A small maintenance hatch swung wide. "Go," I told Mara. "I can't." "You can." She crawled through. I followed. The metal tunnel was narrow. My elbow scraped. The air tasted like rust. A faint light glowed at the far end. Behind us, a door slammed open. She escaped. Clive roared. "Check every room." I pushed Mara forward. Faster. We reached the end. A grate. Screwed in. I slammed my shoulder into it. Once. Twice. Pain shot down my arm. Third time it cracked. I shoved it open, pulling Mara through. We fell into the boiler room. Heat roared. Pipes hissed. Steam clouded the air. Cut scene. The emergency exit was across the room. Unlocked. Freedom. Then, a shadow blocked the doorway. Evelyn. Calm. Composed. Like she hadn't hunted us through her own house. "You always did break the furniture," she said softly. "Such a messy child." "Where's Juniper?" "Safe. For now." I stepped forward. "You touch her again, and I swear." "You'll what?" Evelyn lifted a remote. A tiny device. One button. "You forget who built this place. Who wired it. Who owns every inch." Mara whimpered. "Don't." Evelyn pressed the button. A siren shrieked overhead. Red lights flooded the room. Metal doors began sealing off corridors, locking the house down like a containment lab. Pipes clanged as pressure built. Mara covered her ears. I grabbed her and pulled her behind a support beam as steam burst from a ruptured valve, scorching the floor. "You see," Evelyn said, "chaos is what you create. Order is what I restore." "You're sick." "No, I'm effective." A memory flashed through me, one of those lines adults say to justify cruelty. People don't destroy because they're strong. They destroy because they fear things they can't bend. My father had said something like that once, right before walking out. I finally understood what he meant. I stepped out from behind the beam. "If you want me, take me. Let her go." Evelyn tilted her head. "I don't need you. I need the girl. You're just noise." My heart ruptured. She raised the remote again. I glanced at the boiler valve beside her. Steam building. Pressure gauge climbing. I grabbed a loose wrench from the floor, hurled it at the valve. Metal snapped. A deafening blast of steam shot outward, blinding her. She screamed, dropping the remote. I lunged, kicked it across the floor, grabbed Mara and ran. Up the stairs, down a corridor, through the mudroom. We burst out onto the back porch, cold air hitting my lungs like knives. Freedom. Almost. Then headlights swept across the yard. A black SUV rolled to a stop. Clive stepped out, shovel in hand. "You're not going anywhere, Lorraine," he said. "We still need her for the next phase." The SUV's headlights cut the black yard into harsh white slices. Rain spat against the porch roof. Cold air slammed into my lungs. Juniper trembled beside me. Clive didn't speak. He lifted the shovel like a judge raising a gavel. Then, a horn. Near. Loud. Real. A police cruiser. Headlights. Screaming tires. Then more horns. Another cruiser. Sirens wailing. Clive's eyes flicked from me to the road. Panic. I shoved Juniper behind me. She buried her face into my jacket. I held up the sealed envelope. Proof. Documents. Papers. Evidence. Real evidence. "Stay back!" I yelled. Clive hesitated. One cruiser edged forward. Spotlights stabbed across the yard. Flooding rain. From behind a cruiser door stepped a tall man, badge glinting under rain. Detective Rafael Santana. He raised his megaphone. "Freeze! Drop the shovel. You are under arrest for suspicion of child endangerment and custody fraud." Clive's mouth opened. No bark. I closed my eyes. A breath came easy for the first time in hours. Cut scene. I crouched beside Juniper in the back seat of the cruiser. Wind and rain pounded the window. Sirens faded behind us. Juniper's teeth chattered. I embraced her, stroked her hair. I whispered, "We're going somewhere safe. I promise." A flash from my purse. Phone screen lighting up with a message. "You did good, but there's more to dig. The center, Millersport." I didn't recognize the number. Didn't need to. I knew. They had built more of these houses. More children. Cut scene. Detective Santana pushed back his hood, rain dripping from his badge. "Your mom knew the system better than most," he said quietly. "Custody law, record falsifications, all tied up in forged files under county records. She covered each step. Whoever helped her is powerful." I nodded slowly. "We don't just want rescue. We want charges. For every child." He looked at me. "I need you to identify the other girl. Show me the tape." I swallowed. I held up the mini DV labeled 8S Porter interview. Final eval. He winced. "This may blow the case wide open. Your mother's not just a criminal. She might be the head of something bigger." I closed my eyes. Real fear for the first time. Because if she had power beyond our house, if there was a network, then the danger wasn't over. Flash. Cut. The rain lashed glass. Red and blue lights splashed against wet siding. Evelyn stood in porch shadows, arms crossed watching. A dark silhouette. I stared back through the cruiser window. Then the sirens drowned. But the eyes stayed out watching. Cut. Inside, a separate squad car. Juniper slept curled against me. Her chest rose and fell slow. I scanned the seat pocket. A black envelope. Inside a photo. The girl from the basement. Her name typed, Mia Caldwell. Age 11. Center. Millersport Children's Shelter. Room 2B. Guardian. Evelyn Montgomery. I exhaled. They won't hide anymore. Detective Santana turned corners on wet asphalt. His radio crackled. Another cruiser joining. He looked at me. You ready to face them? I met his eyes. Yes, I'm ready to stop them. He nodded. Cut scene. I closed my eyes. A thought rang like a bell. Justice is not blind. It just sleeps until someone forces it awake. I opened them. Red streaks of tail lights danced on the ceiling. Juniper stirred. I squeezed her hand. We rode on, away from the farmhouse, away from that nightmare. But I knew I hadn't escaped it. I just started the fight. Rain washed the asphalt. Red and blue lights danced on wet concrete. I stood at the edge of the driveway, Juniper's hand in mine. Detective Santana's boots crunched beside us. Evelyn and Clive emerged under spotlight glare, faces pale. Clive tried to step forward, but two officers flanked him, hands raised. The shovel from moments ago lay discarded on the ground. You're under arrest, Santana said, voice calm, flat, final. Clive's shoulders sagged. Evelyn's eyes flicked to the envelope in my hand. The forged deeds, the custody papers, the tapes. She realized. Flash. Cut to black. Then light courtroom. Judge in robes. Gavel down. Burst of sound. Evelyn's wrists snapped into cuffs. Clive lowered his head. In the gallery, the girl from the basement, Mara watched. Quiet. Hollow. She wasn't the only one. Authorities escorted two other small children out. Their eyes blank. Rescue, Santana whispered. Juniper stood beside me, trembling. I tucked the jacket tighter around her. I remembered a line once. Justice may be slow, but truth never forgets. It echoed now. Cut. An empty farmhouse hallway. Curtains soaked. Water dripped from ceiling panels. Doors ajar. Inside, officers loaded boxes labeled evidence, digital and physical. Cameras. Files. Money trail. Transfer deeds. Lab results. Contract sheets. The house groaned, like it hated what was happening. Cut to Spanish Moss Forest, near Millersport. A small shelter. Santana signed papers. The children were moving to new lives. Mara stepped off the van. She looked fragile, younger than her scars. I knelt, held out my hand. You're safe now, I told her. Her fingers touched mine briefly, a spark. Evening light through cracked blinds at Juniper's new apartment. She curled on the sofa, cradling a warm mug of tea. Steam drifted upward, soft. She looked up, eyes bright. Mom, she said quietly, do you think they'll come back for me? I wrapped an arm around her, kissed the top of her head. They won't. Not now. Not ever. Weeks later, I stood before a small group at the courthouse steps. Reporters, flashlights, cameras, clutching a stack of petitions, signatures, names of women, survivors of exploitation, abuse, foster system leaks. This house was never just one secret, I told them. It was a door to many more. One by one, those women shared. Their voices added weight. Truth grew roots. I felt the old fear fluttering, the guilt, the shame, the years I ran. But I said to them, we don't run from shadows. We shine light. That night, I lit a candle for every child rescued. I stood by the window as the flame danced. Outside, the city hummed. Cold wind touched glass. but inside warmth. Cut. The farmhouse gate, rusted and locked. A padlock, placed by sheriff's deputies. A sign, condemned unsafe. Wind rattled the boards. Rain dripped through broken windows. Inside, the attic held boxes, empty. Clothes gone. Toys gone. Chains removed. The silence was holy. Morning. Juniper skipped through a little yard outside our apartment building. Daffodils bloomed. Yellow flames against thawing earth. I trailed behind, phone in hand, typing, filing paperwork for a nonprofit, a shelter for girls. No children like us would ever sleep on a cold floor for shining floors. I paused, looked at Juniper among flowers. Light caught her hair like promise. I whispered to myself, home is where they see you. Night comes. I lay awake. Distant sirens, memories of screams, but for first time, no, not a fear in my chest. I traced the pendant Juniper once held, turned evidence. Now it rested in a small box under lock, waiting for truth to catch up with justice. I exhaled slowly. Outside the apartment window, a single star glowed faint but steady. I held Juniper's hand, and I believed darkness ends. Light returns. Because we survived, and we will protect.